Drop it. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Drop the Digibomb, and in this episode we're going to talk about an extremely common question in the world of blogging, which is how do I get more comments on my blog? I tell you, this is a question that gets asked all the time. It gets asked on blogs, it gets answered on blogs, it gets asked in forums, it gets asked on Twitter, Facebook, it gets asked at meetups, events, and conferences. This is a question that everybody blogging, especially when they're new, asks, or those who've been doing it for a while who can't seem to get any kind of traction ask. And this is a question that a lot of bloggers seek to answer on a regular basis. I myself have been asked this question more times than I can count, and it's a question that as a professional in the industry, I'm required to answer at work on a daily basis. How do we get more interaction, more engagement, and how do we get people commenting on the stuff that we're doing on the blog? It's a genuine question too, and unfortunately, in my opinion, there's no real right or wrong answer. You'll find that most of the stuff online will give you the same basic answers. Do this, 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 and this. These are all the things that typically tend to work, and for the most part, those are the things that tend to work. But, there's a bit of luck involved with anything. There's the whole idea of being in the right place at the right time, and just being able to somehow find a blogger who's got the right voice, a way in which he or she writes that also kind of gets people to interact and engage. It's not just about the technique or the tactic, but it's also about the way in which it's written and the voice and the individual, the community manager, the blogger, the personality behind it. There's a lot of things that make it up. But most importantly, you need traffic. Before you can even think about getting comments on your blog, you need to get people coming to your blog, which is a whole other question to be posed and to be answered. But for now, let's just talk about how we can get more comments on your blog. So these are things, again, that I'm not the first to say this. I know for a fact that many people have already blogged about this, and I'm going to put a couple links in the description that have these, that have similar answers to what I'm going to talk about. But these are things that have worked for me, both personally and professionally. Things that, excuse me, that I stand by in terms of genuine techniques or tactics that will work if done right and done often, can get people to comment more often on your blog, okay? So let's do it one by one. The first one would be asking questions. Obviously, if you want somebody to feedback or give you an answer, you need to ask them a question. One of the things you'll find quite often is when you see a lot of blogs that get very little traction or no comments, it's because they wrote a full circle. The blog post is a finished piece. There's no call to action. There's no question at the end. There's no homework for the reader, for the user. They've just written something, and it may be written very well, and they may have gotten a lot of people to read it, but they gave no reason to comment on it. So it's very important to kind of write an unfinished blog post. Find a way to ask a question in the end to get your readers, to do the rest of the work so that there's some kind of engagement in there. You want to start a conversation. It's the best way to get comments, right? Create something that's informative, but something that you ask the reader to respond to, even if it's something as simple as, what do you think of blah, 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 or what have you done with the etc., right? Just a simple way to end it off. Write an interesting, simple post and then end it with a question and try to get a response out of your community. The next one would be simplify. Posts need to be simple, just the right amount of content to digest. If you want comments, that is. It is rare, but yes, there are blogs where you will find authors that can write novels. They can write a ton of information, and people will read it all, and they will comment on it. But these are individuals who are most likely professional writers. They're experts in their areas. They're names. They're people that are trusted. People, who you want to read and want to interact with and want to talk to. The average blogger can't always get away with that. And I think a good way to start is being very, minimalistic about it. Think simple. Think the right amount, something that people can digest quickly and easily. They can read, while they're at work or on the go, but something that gives them a reason to want to make a comment, right? Because if they have to spend so much time trying to read it, or if they have to come back to read it, they might lose interest and they might not make that comment. But if you pose, if you write an interesting post or pose a question in 2 sentences, 3 sentences, that might just be enough to go, I read it. Oh, that's really interesting. You know what? And then I write a comment. Engage with readers on an emotional level. This is absolutely essential. I mean, emotions are very important. In fact, this might be the most important way of getting people to comment on a blog, right? Write something that's inspiring, a tearjerker, something that's brutally honest. If the reader feels something, if there's some kind of an emotion there, they're more likely to comment, because emotions compel us to. When we feel emotional about something, whatever kind of emotion that is, as humans, it's within our nature to respond to that. So if you write something that's very emotional, you're more likely to get an emotional response, to get comments. You're going to find a way to interact if engage with your audience at a much more human level and get them to interact with you. Okay, a couple other things that are also really important. Reviews. Obviously, reviewing stuff is just a really great way to get comments. Let's say you're a food blogger, so you do a review on a product, a dish you like, an ingredient, a restaurant, etc., something like that, and you start a conversation. You get people's opinions and ideas, and then you spin it with some kind of, call to action. So some kind of, I'll give you an example. So you write something about a really great ingredient that you've come across in a dish that you made with it, put some really nice pictures, people see that, and that might be enough right there for them to go, oh, that looks awesome, or that looks great, or where did you get this, or where did you get that? But then end it with some kind of call to action, like, have you used this ingredient before? What have you done with this ingredient? Why don't you make something with this ingredient, post your picture, send it back to us, tell us what you think, etc., etc. So it's a great way to get some kind of user interaction, engage with your potential community, and get comments on the blog. What's really, for me, what I consider also one of the most important things is to develop a content calendar and then stick to that content calendar. So you want to create something that's daily, weekly, monthly, so that readers are anticipating something. They're coming back for something. They're going to be checking often. This will get you traffic, but at the same time, it will get you comments, because now people are looking forward to see what is the next Monday whatever, or the next Friday whatever, or the weekly whatever, or the monthly whatever, and then you can call to action that too with submit yours, or if you've got ideas, or etc., etc. It's a great way to get people commenting. When you post a picture of the week, people will probably comment on that. Polls of the week, things like that work really well in getting people to comment, because they're simple, easy things. And then just a couple other useful tactics that also work too. Things like roundups, top 10 ... Top 10 is a great way to get people talking about stuff, because they might disagree with your top 10, or they might want to add to that top 10. But most importantly, they'll probably thank you for those. Oh, that's really great. Thank you for showing. Oh, I didn't know that existed. Or number 2 is really awesome, etc., etc. It's a great way to get people talking. Another thing that also works really well is tips of the day, things like that. Tips, tricks, how-tos. Because when you're explaining to people how to do something, or when you're answering a problem and you become an expert in the area of that topic, people are going to ask you questions. They're going to comment. They're either going to thank you, they're going to disagree with you because they think they have a better way of doing it, right? Or they're going to ask you more questions because they want to know more and they want to learn more. Or they're going to request that you give them other stuff. Can you please write a post about this? Or I'm having this problem. Can you please write about that, etc.? So those things work really well. And obviously, if you haven't tried it, try it if you have the resources to do so. One of the best ways to get traffic and one of the best ways to get comments is to run a contest. Run a contest where essentially the way to win is comment to win. Now, granted, these might not be individuals that might come back again. They might just enter that contest. But now you have a much larger pool of people that you can potentially convert, right, into members or followers or readers, whatever it is, and get them coming back for more if you keep giving them good content. So make it a good post, make it a good read or a good video or whatever it is, and then end it with a contest of some kind. Now, if you want this or you want to win this, comment here, etc. Works really great. Okay, so the final tip would be leveraging a network, something like wordpress.com. Obviously, if you are blogging, you're going to want to Facebook all your blog posts, tweet all your blog posts. If you're relying on a lot of heavy visual media, you may want to use certain social bookmarking tools like Pinterest or Zooltool or SpringPad or The Fancy or whatever it might be. You might also want to rely on things like Dig and StumbleUpon and Delicious and Reddit, etc. But that's really more of trying to find ways to gain more organic traffic and try to get people to come back to your blog. That doesn't necessarily mean that people are going to read it. Doesn't necessarily mean that people are going to comment, engage, and actually take part in the discussions. But what I've seen used very successfully are blogging networks. It's great to be a part of a blogging network. I myself use WordPress.com. I have a few blogs here. WordPress is definitely the largest blogging software on the planet. And WordPress.com, I believe, is somewhere in the area of over 20 million, maybe 30 million blogs now. I mean, it's absolutely insane. You can check out their stats. But the point is, if you have a blog on WordPress.com, it makes it easy for all kinds of people to find you based on the kind of content that you're producing. And that's the point. If they're already WordPress.com users, they can find you in a myriad of different ways through the WordPress.com network. They can stumble across your content, and they can easily like it, they can comment on it, they can share it. That's what makes a network like this so great, because people search for things based on their interests, based on relevant content, things that they want to see and know about. And you can also take the extra step by going out there and finding individuals and building your own community of people. That's what I like to do. For example, here you have something called Freshly Pressed that shows all the most popular stuff that's going on right now on WordPress.com. And if this is stuff that's relevant to you or interesting to you and something that could, benefit your blog in some way, take a look at these other blogs, read some of the content on here, and then comment on it. And when the author of that post sees that comment, they're going to come back to your WordPress.com blog, and they might like it, they might comment, they might share it, or other readers on that blog might see your comment and they might come back. It becomes viral. It's a way for you to reach out and find other individuals. And when you're following other blogs, everyone gets a notification. I mean, if they get millions of followers, they might not necessarily notice you, but the point is you're following them and you see their content come up, and when there's stuff of interest and you like that post or you comment on that post, that is a sign of engagement. You're interacting with those individuals, and chances are they're going to come back and interact with you. It's a funny thing, but in the blogging world, in the social world, people tend to scratch each other's back. If I comment on your post, chances are you'll comment on mine. If I like your post or follow your blog, chances are you will do the reverse. So it works really well in that respect. It's kind of like going to a dinner party or some kind of event for the very first time, and you meet all these people, you walk around the room, you shake their hands, you start conversations, you engage with these individuals, and then in the end, if you like them, you might start sharing information. Here's my number, here's my email, etc. And you build that network, you build that community, and you start to all follow and talk to each other in some way or another. It's kind of in the same vein, but online, right? Similar to social networks like Facebook and stuff. But again, it's about aggregating and syndicating content. Also, WordPress will recommend blogs to you based on, particular interests, which is also a great way to build that community. Personally, I've seen a lot of success doing this kind of thing. I've had self-hosted blogs, and then I have blogs on WordPress.com, and the ones on WordPress.com tend to get a lot more traction because there's this network. It's the same reason why people make videos and put it on YouTube, because they want to leverage that YouTube network. They want people on YouTube to follow them and comment, and they're going to subscribe to other individuals on YouTube and hope that those people subscribe to them, etc. It's one of those kind of scenarios, and it tends to work really well. When you have a self-hosted blog, you've just got to hope that people will find your content. You're going to try and figure out ways to gain some kind of organic traffic, hope that you get some SEO juice going so that people come back. I do the work. I go out there. I'll find the forums, the blogs. I'll comment on other people's information. I'll repost my stuff. I'll do what I can to get people to read my stuff and come back and engage in some way or another. And of course, I follow all of the tips that I just gave you previous to this final one, which is leveraging your network. So in the end, I personally believe it really comes down to, more than anything, it's really all about luck, whether or not people are going to find your content interesting and whether or not they're going to engage. You can blog for years and never get a comment or a reader, or you can blog for a month or two and become super successful right away. You got to work hard at these things. Sometimes it's lucky, sometimes it's just working hard, but in the end, you never really know what's going to happen, and I don't think it really matters. We do this because we love to do this. At least I do. I write because I love to write. I blog because I love to blog. It's why I have so many blogs. So to me, what's more important are readers more than anything, than the comments. But in the end, I'll continue to do it either way, and like I said, I have a handful of blogs. Some no one sees, some are popular. I recently just started a blog on WordPress.com, 2 months, doubled my traffic, and I'm getting a lot of likes, comments, etc. So you've got to work hard at it, and you got to figure out what the right strategy is and the right techniques are when you're doing this kind of thing. So, I hope this information helps in some way. Try it out, play around, see what happens. I wish you the best of luck. But in the end, just keep on blogging, man, because that's what it's all about. Enjoy it, love it, do it because you want to do it. And if you begin to not like it, then don't bother doing it anymore. So you can follow me at Digibomb on Twitter, and I'll see you all on the flip side, and that's Drop the Digibomb. Who knows what we'll talk about in the next episode.